Didn't even get to cross.
Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast, and today it is a 1 vs 1 on Faymonville approach between our blue US Forces player HelpingHans and down south our red Wehrmacht player Luvnest. And again, it is Faymonville approach, so we have our victory points going straight diagonally across the map here, and we have our fuel points here and here on the other side. And our munitions points are diagonal as well, so a little bit easier to capture your own munitions points and fuel points, but a little bit harder to capture your opponents'. And 3 rear echelon troops being made for HelpingHans here, so just massing out rear echelon troops at the start, and 2 grenadiers coming out for Luvnest. And barbed wire going up in front of this cover, so his opponent cannot use it against him. And also taking the center victory point at the same time. Now taking the territory point with pioneers here. And additional rear echelon troops taking the first territory point as well. And the 4th unit is a rifleman for our U.S. Forces player, and here comes a second grenadier as well. First grenadier, and the second one will be out sooner or later here. And looks like going for the first territory point directly in front of his base. Now also taking the fuel point on the right side for the pioneers here, and we have rear echelon troops going for the fuel point on the left side. Also making some tank traps for a little bit of cover on this side as well, as there's not too much cover here. And we have rear echelon troops in the center again, now taking the territory point directly next to the center victory point. And with all of these rear echelon troops out on the field, it's going to get kind of wacky here. Need to get those to level 2 veterancy, 2-star veterancy, and you will get an additional rear echelon troop in your squad there, making them a little bit more effective and taking the munitions point here while making some cover as well. Rear echelon troops have garrisoned inside the house here against these grenadiers here, but they decide to go a different route. Now an MG42 is coming out for our Wehrmacht player as well. Now the pioneers here have created themselves quite the barbed wire maze here all the way across, so no troops can get through here, and also right here so they cannot use this cover against him. Now grenadiers here against these rear echelon troops. Looks like the rear echelon troops going to get inside this massive structure here. Looks like it could hold many troops. Only 2 squads. It's kind of actually disappointing. I figured that could hold 4. And down here, taking the bottom victory point as well. So 2 victory points coming up for the U.S. Forces. Riflemen just used that house to get on the other side. They're pretty clever, and now taking the fuel point from the Germans here. Grenadiers here still battling out with the rear echelon troops, but the rear echelon troops in very good cover, so it's going to be quite a while here. And the pioneers now hopping the fence. Should be going for these riflemen here. Could come around and flank them from behind, maybe get a couple kills there. Now taking the munitions point after they took the victory point there. Rear echelon troops did get suppressed here by that MG42, and now trying to back off and retreating out of there. However, we have some riflemen here coming up to defend those running rear echelon troops, and now getting inside this house for a little bit of cover against these grenadiers. And looks like he's having a little freak out here of his troops. Not really sure what that was all about. That was a little wacky. And riflemen here down to 3 men in this squad. But we have rear echelon troops still inside the house, firing back at these 2 grenadiers and 3 pioneers here. So that is a fight we'll have to check on in just a moment. These grenadiers now taking the territory point on the left side of the victory point. However, these riflemen have something to say about that. Going to get on the other side of that truck there for some point-blank warfare. And now the grenadiers down to 2 men. The riflemen have garrisoned inside of the building as well, and there are plenty of windows for them to fire out of. And these grenadiers are in a little bit of trouble here, just down to 2 men with a small sliver of health. Decides to get out of the house there and just charge those grenadiers there. And now just a sliver of health in negative cover. Could have lost a troop there should he have kept on that, but decides to get the victory point instead. Rear echelon troops now getting suppressed by the machine gun here. Pretty good spot for this machine gun. Covers a wide area there, and these riflemen here decide to not go in and deal with that noise. They don't feel like getting suppressed instantaneously. However, we have some rear echelon troops coming from the other side here, flanking, and once he picks up this machine gun, then he could be able to bring his riflemen over there as well. Now on the right side here, still being contested here, brought up a fresh grenadier squad against these rear echelon troops that are trying to take the victory point, but unable to do that, has to retreat back. 3 rifleman squads and 3 rear echelon squads for HelpingHans here, and 4 grenadier squads for Luvnest, including that MG42. Now these riflemen are going to be taking the victory point, so we'll leave the U.S. Forces with 3 victory points, taking down the Wehrmacht score very quickly here, 500 to 433. Now the MG42 is moving out, probably going to take this munitions point here. Again, this territory point here almost never gets taken for some reason for quite a while, and it is very unimportant, admittedly, but it is still free munitions. All you do have to do is put a rear echelon troop on that for just a moment, and would be able to reap the benefits of some free munitions there. Grenadiers here behind some cover, not really deciding to move forward and take that munitions point, or territory point, not a munitions point, and the riflemen now moving forward here. However, they're going to get a surprise here. 2 squads of grenadiers against this 1 squad of riflemen, but going to get inside that house for a little bit of cover. Looks like he's actually stopping back there first. Now these rear echelon troops trying to take this territory point, but not going to happen for too long here. These grenadiers going to chew them up pretty quickly. We do have the riflemen moving down to the side to try and get some flank shots alongside that cover there. And still owning 3 of the victory points. Grenadiers hopping the fence there, going towards that territory point. However, there's some rear echelon troops just all over the place. So many engineers just everywhere, and firing on these grenadiers here, giving them a hard time. Now here comes the MG42 going to set up right behind these rear echelon troops, and a second squad of rear echelon troops coming as well. So everything going to get suppressed pretty quickly here, and these guys are going to get shot right in the back by a machine gun, but they're going to try and get out of that arc of fire, and it looks like they did make it. But one troop is still in there a little bit and did make it, but have to retreat back. Could have just waited just a moment there and let his troops get up, but didn't want to risk losing any more of those. Captain now out on the battlefield for the U.S. forces here, and going to meet these grenadiers soon enough. I thought they were going to go a little bit more further, but going to take that fuel point instead, and now taking the territory point as well. So here comes the captain now, going to start firing on these grenadiers. And over here, going to be taking the fuel point here with this MG42. And these rear echelon troops really can't do too much about that, so they're just going to have to back up and go inside of a house. And going to try and get inside this house before these grenadiers do. And success. Gets inside there before those grenadiers, but not going to last too long with those pioneers and the grenadiers firing on them. Captain in a little bit of trouble now. Just 2 men in that squad. Both of the bazooka men now running away. Not very effective against the troops, so has to go back and reinforce that. Rear echelon troops hurting pretty bad here, very low on health. This whole squad very slim on health. We'll start to lose troops very quickly here. However, some riflemen come to defend this situation here and take back the victory point. Munitions point still belonging to the Wehrmacht. Now the fuel point here was neutralized, and now we're going to be taken back by the riflemen.
Listen up!
And center riflemen now moving forward, going to try and take this territory point while these rear echelon take the victory point. Take a 2-for-1 there, but however, these grenadiers going to stop them and fire on these weak riflemen, and rear echelon troops could be able to take those out very quickly. These rear echelon squads now going to be moving out again, 2 of them over here on the right. And now an M5 Stuart is out for the U.S. forces here, so the first armor has been brought out by the U.S. forces here. Now the M5 chasing some grenadiers here, may get a kill or 2 before they make it back to base. And there is the lag of the game. Always happens just one time in my game. I don't really get that, so I just call it the lag of the game. Grenadiers here with some Gewehr 43 rifles. A very nice upgrade for those grenadiers. And the M5 Stuart now firing at the truck here. These grenadiers hiding behind good cover, but decides to back off. And now these riflemen here are going to move over, start to take this territory point back. Could also take the victory point back as well. These riflemen inside the house battling it out against these grenadiers here, but there's only 2 men left, and they're also quite low on health, about a third of their health remaining. Now grenadiers moving up the left side here, going to be taking back the victory points and the fuel point at the same time with that MG42 and grenadiers, and now needs to switch out these riflemen here. However, the M5 Stuart now coming to the center here to provide a little bit of firepower on these troops, and occupied right now on those pioneers. We'll soon get to those grenadiers sooner or later here. Captain behind this truck here firing at these grenadiers, but they're also getting shot by this MG42, so sooner or later they will be suppressed, but they are behind pretty good cover, so it will take a while. And rear echelon troops inside the house, about half health on them, but 1-star veterancy, so they'll fight it out for a little while here. And the M5 Stuart still putting down some heat on those grenadiers, decides to run those away before he loses too many of them unnecessarily to that M5. Now the riflemen here taking the right side victory point back, with the grenadiers with Gewehr 43 rifles. Definitely a threat against these riflemen. You can see taking them out already. And now the M5 charging this MG42 here. And decides to pick that up and run away before he suffers any losses. And the left side still belonging to the Wehrmacht here. And it looks like these grenadiers were going to take this territory point, but somehow decided against it. Again, nobody ever really typically bothers with that territory point, or this one for that matter. And now taking back that for the Wehrmacht, and taking this one back as well, the fuel point, just before the victory point here. Just some 4 riflemen here defending this victory point. Could be easily taken by these 2 grenadiers, one of them with Gewehr 43s. Easily out firepower the riflemen there, outgun them. fuel point now being taken by the U.S. forces here, and the Grenadiers behind excellent cover. However, the Riflemen have pretty good cover as well. So the Grenadiers might have a little bit better cover. Here comes the M5 Stuart now, going to turn around and start firing on these Grenadiers. And going to start taking those out sooner or later here in the center. The center victory point is neutralized, and we have some rear echelon troops with a BAR and the Riflemen with a BAR trying to move into the center here, but some Grenadiers with Gewehr 43s giving them a hard time. And now moving in here, Captain's going to try and take the victory point while the M5 defends. Now a Pack 40 is out on the field for the Wehrmacht, going to go after that M5. And looks like we have a 57 coming out for the U.S. forces, too, against any incoming potential Wehrmacht armor. And now the Pioneers now moving forward here. Looks like they're going for the territory points. And some Grenadiers still defending this point here. Could just move up just a scotch and get this victory point without being fired on by those Grenadiers. But now they are moving forward a little bit too late now. And here comes the M5 Stuart cruising across the map, blasting through fences. Doesn't care. And now going to be taking out these Pioneers here. And they have nothing to defend themselves with. So they're just going to take shots to the chest. And now down to 2-1 in that squad there. Some excellent hits on that M5 Stuart there. The Grenadiers still firing on these rear echelon troops. They are pretty much screwed. Going to hop the fence and probably retreat out of there. Those Gewehr 43 rifles just tearing up rear echelon troops. And now rear echelon troops moving forward against these Grenadiers. 2 Grenadiers with Gewehr 43s against these Riflemen and a Captain here. And going to probably eat up these U.S. forces pretty quickly here. And they're not really going to be able to take all that heat, as all of them have very excellent cover against pretty much nothing. Now the Riflemen inside this building still defended pretty well this victory point. Very hard to take this victory point with these excellent Riflemen with the BAR and 1-star veterancy inside that. However, the MG42 is set up here and must be just outside of that range or sight range of that MG42 because it could be firing right now. The rear echelon troops moving forward at these Grenadiers here. Comes the good old M5 Stuart and firing on these Grenadiers here. Going to take some of them out and runs away before he loses too many of those. Now the right side victory point being taken by these Riflemen here will leave the U.S. forces again with 3 victory points. So it'll be 484, 324, and we'll be going down very quickly. Grenadiers now a 2-star veterans with the Gewehr 43 rifles battling out against this Captain and the Riflemen here. And these Grenadiers should fare pretty well inside this building for a while. Should take out a couple of these troops before they have to get out and run. And will definitely be very efficient. Here comes some additional Grenadiers here. 3 squads of Grenadiers, all with Gewehr 43s, and some Pioneers here trying to flank as well. But they're pretty medium range right now, so not doing too much damage there. The M5 Stuart is rolling up and needs to watch out. Doesn't want to get Fausted multiple times there. Could get Panzer Fausted at least twice. Actually, not enough munitions for Luvnest. He used all his munitions on these Gewehr 43 rifles, as he has 4 Grenadier squads with Gewehr 43s and 1 without. And this one just now got him. Speak of the devil there. So now all 5 Grenadier squads having Gewehr 43s. So lots and lots of firepower coming out of these Grenadiers here. Very long range firepower. The LMGs a little bit better at close range. However, these Grenadiers with the Gewehr 43s very excellent at long range. And that seems to be what this battle is all about so far. The Riflemen are pretty well adept at long range, so might as well fight fire with fire and put on your Gewehr 43s and your Grenadiers and fight long range battles. And M5 Stuart still cruising across the map. Hasn't really been hit at all. I don't think this M5 Stuart has taken any damage whatsoever, down to up to 7 kills so far, but looks like he's going to take some damage here pretty soon if they decide to Panzerfaust that M5, but nope, not in range, and gets out of there just fine and dandy. No damage on that M5 Stuart still. This looks like this Pack 40 just having a hard time getting close to it. As it moves around the map so fast, it's hard to like set it up and really chase that M5 Stuart. So you really got to have the M5 Stuart just pretty much run into the vision of that Pack 40. Grenadiers now running away here. These Grenadiers still staying against these rear echelon troops that are inside this building. Now a 2-star rear echelon troop, and he has a second one on the map as well, and this one is at the base, so he can have 5 in that squad, so getting pretty good there. And Riflemen now moving forward, going to be taking back the left side victory point from just these lowly old Pioneers, and they're not going to be able to hold off for very long against those 2 Riflemen. Captain also here in the center battling out with Grenadiers. Probably will lose that battle sooner or later there. And rear echelon troops now on the right side actually chased away some Grenadiers there with that BAR, and now decides to not take that victory point. Should take that, or territory point, not a victory point, and might as well at least neutralize that at the very least. And now taking the left side victory point very soon here, unless he gets suppressed right about now, but it looks like it's not going to happen. Going to take that victory point for the U.S. forces. Now the rifleman here is under a little bit of fire from this MG42. However, the M5 Stuart now coming up, going to be firing into this building here, but will take a while to take out that MG42. So these riflemen just going to be in a little bit of trouble for now. Could throw some smoke right here, but does not have the grenade upgrade, so he cannot throw smoke right now, but could throw smoke right there should he have that, and would prevent this MG42 from firing on him. The PaK-40 was here, did spot that PaK-40, so now he knows at least its location, so this M5 can be a little bit more careful. And the captain here, down to 2 men in the squad, still battling out with these grenadiers here, and again, definitely losing that battle with those Gewehr 43s, just with the captain with 2 bazookas. And now the rear echelon troops being forced away from this territory point, now being taken back by the Wehrmacht here. These grenadiers here going to get maybe a kill in before these rear echelon troops get out of the range there. But nope, actually, yeah, did get a kill there. And a free kill, why not? And riflemen now moving to the right side. And I'm going to try and take back some of that territory. Grenadiers moving up and could get a Panzerfaust out on this tank here, and now whips it out and fires on that M5. First bit of damage that M5 that I've seen has taken, and its engine is now damaged. Going to have to decrew that and repair that up, but not too big of a deal for a U.S. Forces vehicle, as U.S. Forces are just so adept at repairing their vehicles. All you got to do is just hit T, and it basically auto repairs, and pretty much easy mode there. 2 riflemen now moving forward, both of them 2 stars and 2 BARs. And moving forward here, and going to start firing at all these troops. The PaK-40 is set up here in the wrong spot. These riflemen running right towards it. Could maybe possibly decrew that PaK-40, but no, decides to hop the fence there and get out of the firing of these grenadiers here. Now going to move up to the wall here and start firing at these grenadiers, but there's an MG42 just about to set up here. Going to fire right in these riflemen's faces. Should be throwing a grenade, but still does not have that grenade upgrade. This would be the perfect time to have that grenade upgrade, but decides to get out of there. And gonna run back home. This man, this squad here only has 1 man left in it, just a small sliver of health, but survives. The captain moving forward now. The M5 Stuart has been fully repaired. And back in action, munitions point being taken by these rear echelon troops here. Up top, we have some grenadiers taking the munitions point on the other side at the same exact time. Captain now taking the territory point here, and riflemen and rear echelon squads going to be chasing away these grenadiers here. Might be able to get the last kill if they're lucky. The M5 Stuart might be able to get it, but nope, doesn't. Is not able to fire before it gets around the corner there. Riflemen, rear echelon troops here battling out. They are 5 in this squad because of the 2 stars, but a little bit outgunned here. Pioneers and 2 grenadier squads are moving on them, and this grenadier squad here is a 3-star, so a formidable force indeed against those rear echelon troops. Rear echelon troops over here taking the field point, and we have the victory point being taken on the right side, backed by the U.S. forces, so still we'll have 3 victory points. Taking the fuel point and the territory point in the center here. However, there's some rear echelon troops inside this house going to be firing on these troops here, and this M5 Stuart firing away on these grenadiers. There is a 75 here that's going to start firing on these grenadiers as well, going to destroy that cover in a couple shots. And captain back in the same old position again behind this concrete wall here, this brick wall. Now it needs to run away again, that stone wall, brick wall, whatever, what have you. And now the rear echelon troops inside this building, about less than half health here, now need to get out of there sooner or later. Going to lose those soon. And the MG42 now moving forward, going to get behind this these barrel-os for cover and fire on this house here to these rear echelon troops. But screwed, going to have to get out of there very soon. Here come the grenadiers as well. Riflemen chasing off these grenadiers from the fuel point and start taking that back. Pioneers taking the left side victory point. Gonna have to move over there with some riflemen as well. Here's the M5 Stuart over the PaK-40 moving up on it. M5 Stuart is now a 2-star veteran. And these grenadiers here should get inside the house. That would be pretty excellent cover. However, it looks like this PaK howitzer is firing, trying to hit these grenadiers, but it's hitting the house before it can hit them. That would not be a good idea to get inside the house. They would take pretty big damage. Panzer IV now out on the field for the Wehrmacht. And now the U.S. force is in a little bit of trouble here. Has a 57 out on the field, but it's all the way up at base and has that 75 as well. And the 75 actually can damage a tank. If it hits it, it actually plinked off there. But if it's in the rear armor, it can do a small sliver of damage. But you would definitely never rely on a 75 to take out a tank. So you have to bring up that 57. And there he goes, starting to fire, but it looks like he fired on those grenadiers there and decrewed that instantly. I didn't even see what decrewed that. That was very interesting. I actually didn't catch that. If only there was a rewind feature. Or perhaps there is, but I just don't know. Either way, whatever. And that was definitely decrewed by something. And 2 grenadiers here going to be facing the wrath of almost the entire U.S. forces here. And they're going to have to get out of there very soon. But they're actually doing pretty good damage here to some of these troops. Captain losing out here. 2 men lost and 1 man out of that rear echelon squad. Panzer IV now firing on these troops here, and not much the U.S. forces can really do right now. Needs to recrew his 57, and the Grenadiers over here firing on some troops as well, and launches a rifle grenade, but definitely a miss there, sort of a whiffer there. Doesn't even get anybody, and Captain is inside the building now, going to be firing the bazookas at the Panzer IV there. 2 excellent bazooka hits, actually did a good sliver of damage. However, the 75 is actually hitting the back of the house here and doing damage to his own troops inside that house. Needs to retreat his captain immediately, down to 1 man in that squad in a small sliver of health. Could lose it immediately. And it looks like the MG42 actually suppressed it somehow around that corner there, because these other troops were right here, so it got suppressed. That was sort of interesting as well. And now the M5 Stuart battling out with these Grenadiers here. Grenadiers might Panzerfaust, but nope, decide to retreat before that happens. And now Ostrupen taking the right side victory point, and all the 3 victory points belonging to the Wehrmacht now. The Wehrmacht has taken control of the entire map, basically, and the U.S. forces forced all the way back to his base. Owns some pretty good stuff here, though. Owns the munitions and a fuel point, so still not out of the game. Needs to take this back and just move down the left side. That would be pretty easy, as it's very uncontested. However, most people just skip out on this territory point, which I still kind of disagree with. It's a little bit of munitions, and why not? You could get a tank later on the game from having it, or some extra BARs or something like that later on in the game for having that for several minutes. And now the M5 Stuart was over here, chased away some troops here, these Ostrupen, as they managed to try and get this munitions point, but unable to do so. That M5 Stuart chasing them away, and need to take back that right side victory point for the U.S. forces. However, the Wehrmacht owns the center and has a pretty strong place here. Has the PaK-40 and the MG42 here to suppress any troops that are going to move in that way. And now 2 Grenadier squads here taking the fuel point. And these rifleman squads trying to take the left side victory point, but under fire from long range under these Grenadiers here. And that man must have been right there. That soldier there was just in the range of these Grenadiers, so they were firing on him, but none of the other ones. And they're sort of lucky, as these Grenadiers have very, very good long range potential with those Gewehr 43s. And now behind some excellent cover here. Rifleman going to get behind the cover of the truck and battle it out, but Rifleman going to lose out on that battle sooner or later here. Sherman now out in the field here for the U.S. forces, and looks like he took a hit from that Panzer IV there, and took a small sliver of health off. And here comes the PaK-40. Got to watch out for that too. He's going to get hit by this PaK-40 very soon, as long as he turns that around and sets it up. And the 57 faced the same way, so there's 2 medium tanks here faced towards each other with 2 57s, or 57 in a PaK-40 rather. And the 57 hits with a heat round there and takes a pretty big damage, and actually used that shell shock ability to blind the crew there. And the 57 decrewed again, and maybe it was a rifle grenade that decrewed that. I didn't see it again, and so easily decrewed this game. That's very strange. And PaK-40 is set up here, could be firing on this Sherman, but it looks like the line of sight just blocking it, and that Panzer IV down to less than half health. Sherman needs to back out as well, as these Panzerfausts were coming, and coming for the Sherman there. Could have damaged its engine and slowed it down, and possibly gotten the kill off on an M5 Stuart. In trouble here, less than half health with a damaged engine. And now the Wehrmacht moving up on the U.S. forces even more, now taking the munitions point and the left side victory point back. So now U.S. forces in a little bit of trouble here, as he got pushed all the way back, and very low resources right now, 26 and 16 to 58 and 36. So a big difference between the U.S. forces and the Wehrmacht score, or income rather. 57 now firing on some troops here, hitting these Grenadiers pretty much point blank, and one good shot could take out the whole squad, or at least a good portion of it, but it is a 3-star, so more than likely will not actually get one-shotted entirely. Panzer IV here being repaired almost full, and did not get that MG42. Screw it, they don't really need it. And troops here reinforcing and healing, but really unable to move out. Really is very low on troops. Some of his troops are vehicle crews. Just reinforcing or healing up his Sherman here, so those will be gone after that. So just 2 rear echelon troops, a rifleman and the captain, and the major really is just standing there as it is a retreat point. So not too much on the field for our U.S. forces player, and can use that shell shock ability on this Panzer IV, but needs his 57 up there at the same time. So if he had his 57 up close, but however that 57 is now gone, and let's see where it went. And it looks like the Wehrmacht player got a hold of that 57 now, so a PaK-40 and a 57 for the Wehrmacht. So all the anti-tanks, so now the U.S. forces are definitely in trouble, as he really has no anti-tank to deal with this Panzer IV here. He does have the Sherman. That's going to be pretty hard to deal with. The shell shock ability from this M5 Stuart might be able to come in handy and stun that crew of the Panzer IV and let the Sherman get off a few hits. However, he's definitely going to get hit by that 57. And he got hit by a heat rocket there, or heat bullet there, and took about 2 shots, and now half health there. Used 30 munitions to use the heat rounds on that 57 there. Does a lot more damage. The Russian troops now trying to move out and try and take back some territory there, and a direct hit on those grenadiers there took out one of them. It looks like he was trying to possibly Panzerfaust. Nope, that is just his Gewehr 43. I thought he dropped his Panzerfaust on the ground there. And grenadiers now firing at these rear echelon troops, and they're trying to take the fuel point, and they should be able to get behind this tank trap here for a little bit of extra cover. Panzer IV, a small sliver of health missing. Now healing back up his Sherman there, repairing it to full, and will be out soon. M5 Stuart is in big trouble here. He must have got hit by, looks like I got hit by the 57 there. And down to just a small sliver of health remaining. 271 to 117. Our U.S. Forces player 21 and 13 to the Wehrmacht 62 and 32 income. So definitely at a very big disadvantage right now, and needs to take back some territory as soon as possible. But with the Wehrmacht's army is just so big right now, it's just unable to really deal with the Wehrmacht, as he can be pretty much everywhere at once. And our U.S. Forces player simply cannot at the moment. Grenadiers and these riflemen going at it point blank here, but a rifle grenade goes off on those riflemen and takes out a bunch of them there, and that's going to hurt the manpower of HelpingHans now. That's going to have to replace all of those. Here comes the Sherman, going to fire on these grenadiers here. However, here comes the Panzer IV, and the Pak-40 gets a shot off on that Sherman. Sherman just can't really go forward, as there's just so much out on the field. The 57 is faced all the way over here, so he can't go around that side, can't go around this side either. He'd have to flank all the way around, and by then, the Wehrmacht player would definitely see him flanking all the way around and could set up before he could really get the full flank off. At 50 cal here, trying to force away some troops from this territory point, but it's still not going to be enough. And we have the M5 Stuart moving over here, going to capture it with the vehicle crew. However, the Panzer IV is now coming along, going to spot this M5, and he needs to use that shell shock ability to at least stun this Panzer IV so he can't get too many hits off there. And going to back off successfully here. Does use that shell shock ability and blinds that crew in one shot there. Very excellent. And now can't really see anything, so he's just going to have to get that Panzer IV out of there. Not really going to be able to get a hold of that M5 Stuart today. Firing on these pioneers here. They're trying to take this territory point, and successfully did, even with this 50 cal up in their face. Now the Pak-40 going to set up and try and fire on the Sherman again. It looks like it is just out of sight range of that Pak-40. Can't really see it that far. And now the 50 cal moving up, going to set up against this Pak-40 here. This Pak-40's got to back up now. They're going to get shot with a 50 cal all in their face, and going to have to pick that up and back up before they all get decrewed. And here comes the shell shock ability again, blinding, now stunning the crew. And Panzer IV going to get hit by the Jackson tank destroyer, and going to take a big hit there. And the M5 Stuart needs to go forward again. Even the little damage of the M5 Stuart right now is definitely needed. Needs to take out that Panzer IV. Should get around that Panzer IV and hit the rear armor. However, the 57 is set up there, so he's going to take that 57 to the face and needs to back up. Now a Tiger out on the field for our Wehrmacht player, and going to lose his M5 Stuart there. A big loss. As soon as he's seen that 57 there, should have really started backing off. And HelpingHans GG's out. As soon as he seen that Tiger, he pretty much knew that that was over. And he lost his Sherman at some point. Actually, it was abandoned. The crew was abandoned and was taken by the Wehrmacht there. So he took over that Sherman, and that Jackson tank destroyer was also destroyed. It looks like by the 57 here, and possibly the Tiger and the Panzer IV working together there. So lost all of his tanks. He was pretty much screwed at that point. But it was a really close game, a very good game. 145 to 117 at the end. So it was very close. However, the Wehrmacht just saved a little bit more units than our U.S. Forces player. So he can pretty much be everywhere at once with all of his units, whereas the U.S. Forces player only had a few remaining. But it was a pretty good game. I hope you guys enjoyed this replay, and I will see you guys next time.